Welcome back to the Not Yet Adults podcast. This, of course, is a podcast starring Collin Geffrey and myself, Eric Zayas, as we navigate this treacherous road leading from whatever we are now to adulthood.
Eric, it is 10:40 at night, and you're at like an 8 out of 10 on the energy scale. I need you to pull it down to like a 4 for me, buddy. I'm just not there. I'm close, but I'm not at an 8, definitely.
Hello and welcome back to the Not Yet Adults.
Yeah, that's probably good. How's it going, Eric?
I'm doing well. Been working, been taking care of errands, applying places. You got an interview here and there, same old, same old. How about yourself, Colin?
Yeah, very similar. Applying to places. I'm looking into some freelance video stuff, hopefully trying to make something work there. Just editing and things like that. Yeah, not too much to report. I'm pretty much over my cold, which is nice. Figuring out kind of what me and the folks are going to be doing for Thanksgiving. That's sort of on the horizon, not too far away. Yeah, nothing real to report. Fueling my Fortnite addiction, I guess. I'm starting to get into Fortnite like way more than I should.
Oh no. Are you going to start dancing weird dances?
No, I don't think I'm ever going to be obsessed with Fortnite because like I've actually been playing Fortnite since like season 2. So I've been in it for quite a while, but like I haven't really taken it that seriously. And like the last week or so, I've been like, oh, there's all these challenges, and I've been playing with my brother and stuff. And it's like a good way for us to bond. And so I've been playing it a little bit more seriously, but it's still only like maybe an hour a day or something. It's not that much. So it's not like some people I know that played, honest to God, like 8 or 10 hours a sitting, which is ridiculous. But anyways, yeah. So that's what I've got to report, Eric. Not too much, but that's my life in all its glory.
All right, great. Well, I was wondering, Colin, what you'd like to talk about this fine evening. What a fantastic, totally organic segue.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Eric, we're going into the holiday season. We're going into Thanksgiving, which in turn leads to Black Friday, and sort of we're starting to get all these emails for deals and specials and all these things. And I thought we could talk about shopping tonight, and sort of how our attitude about shopping has changed. Maybe some patterns that we have as shoppers, and sort of maybe some enjoyment we get from shopping versus sometimes it feeling more like a burden or more like a chore. I'm just kind of curious where your head's at with shopping these days. Kind of what that word makes you think about, it makes you feel when someone says it.
When I was a young boy, shopping meant something entirely different to what it means to me now. I don't know how you felt about shopping. Well, I have an idea based on what we talked about pre-show, spoilers, but taking off the veil a little bit too much. But when I was a kid, like shopping was have a nuisance. I mean, like when I was a very young kid, there's like 3 stages of life: being very young and hating shopping because it was just something I was just dragged along, didn't really have anything to do, and I was just like following my parents around like Home Depot while they bought like important like home improvement stuff, and I was just like, I don't know any of this stuff. I don't want to be here. This is boring.
Home Depot specifically is like the 7th circle of hell when you're a kid. Like that is the worst place a parent can take you, is Home Depot, because there is nothing remotely redeeming there. It's not like Fred Meyer where you can go hang out in the electronics section and look at the video games. Like there's literally nothing for a kid at Home Depot. It's actually the worst.
When you go to hell, there's like purgatory or whatever, and then there's gluttony, which is just a bunch of fat people eating themselves or whatever, and then there's like wrath and people fighting, and then you get to the bottom and there's boredom, and it's just a Home Depot.
What's even better is it's not a quick hell. There's no such thing as a 20-minute trip to Home Depot. It's always freaking 2 or 3 hours. It's always comparing faucets or something ridiculous, and it just never ends. And as a kid, obviously time is even longer to you.
You just listen to your parents quietly argue about the different specifications of a refrigerator and why one refrigerator is better than another, and why you shouldn't spend so much on this brand over this brand, and you just want to die.
And it has like that smell of like just a little bit too much like wood shavings, God, man, do I just hate Home Depot with a passion. Not even because it's a bad store. I'm sure there's lovely people that work there and everything.
Now, and then like when I was a little bit older, like a preteen to teenager, and had some like spending money based on allowance, shopping was a little bit more fun because I, had agency for one. I could actually buy stuff, and also it's this beautiful time in my life when you have money to spend, but you don't need to spend it on like food or bills or whatever.
It's a very brief period, but it's a nice period when the little bit of income you're getting is totally disposable. You can just kind of put it wherever you want to.
Fast forward even later to now, I'm an adult and I have more money to spend because I have a job, and I'm spending it on, bills and stuff. So I have money to spend, but I have to allocate it to more survival based stuff rather than more fun stuff. I still obviously spend it on. I just bought like Red Dead Redemption 2, humble brag, and so I'm still very much doing the kid things. But it's not, shopping isn't as, I mean, it's definitely not as boring as it used to be, but it's not as fun as it used to be as well.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of painted a picture there of sort of three stages of a kid, maybe an adolescent or a teenager, and an adult when it comes to shopping. And I'm curious if there's going to be future stages where you and I walk into a Home Depot and we're like, oh wow, those are some really nice 2x4s they have there. Like, I wonder if we ever get to that point. I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe. I think Donald Glover, I want to say, in his stand-up set Weirdo, said like the moment you walk into a Home Depot and you're like, oh man, I could really use something here. That's like when your childhood's over. Like, that's it. There's no more childhood left in you when that happens. Yeah, I mean, for me, and I told you about this in the pre-show, but I hated going shopping. As a kid, my dad was always at work, and my mom doesn't like doing things by herself. And so as the eldest child, I was like always the one that got dragged around to stuff. And basically, like, I want to say when I was like, I don't know, 8 or something, my mom got me a Game Boy for Christmas. And the idea with like, my parents got us video games always kind of begrudgingly. Like, we got an Xbox, but it was mostly so me, my dad, and brother would all do something together. And so she got me this Game Boy with the understanding that I'm only allowed to play that when we're out shopping or doing errands. And that was sort of how she got me to go out and do stuff with her. And so I would be, I guess you could say, excited to go out shopping and stuff, because that's when I could play Pokemon. That's when I could like get my Pokemon grinding in for the week or whatever.
It's interesting, like, morality boosting, incentivizing tactic, parental tactic.
Yeah. I mean, and I think in her mind, she really just wanted company. Like, she just wanted someone standing there with her while she was doing shopping, so she didn't have to do it alone. And I guess it worked to a certain extent. I mean, it got me out of the house, but after a while, when I got old enough that obviously you shouldn't do this, but I was just like, wait a minute, I can just play my Game Boy under the covers when it's nighttime and not like worry about that, which obviously you shouldn't do because that's terrible. But yeah, no, I mean, over time I just go over to a friend's house, or my mom started caring less about what I played when and all that, and so it didn't become as much of a factor. But as a kid, that's how she got me out of the house. When I hit kind of that in-between period that you were talking about, sort of having a little bit of disposable income, I don't really remember going out and shopping for the most part. I think we've talked about this during the money episode, but I really don't like spending money. I don't like the feeling of spending money, and I've kind of lightened up on that a little bit, because in reality, like, money's pretty common. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's always nice to have money, but you can always get more of it. I'm not too worried about just hoarding a giant pile of cash for no real reason. But I didn't really enjoy as a teenager going out and going to the store and buying things. That's just not something I particularly enjoy. When I got to PLU, the few times that I went out shopping, other than just for basic stuff, like I probably once every other week I'd walk over to Walgreens and buy stuff just for, whatever I'd need. But the actual times I went shopping was for clothes. And that was when obviously I didn't have a car, so I would kind of make a day of it. I would bus down to the Tacoma Mall, and I would be like, okay, I'm going to go to American Eagle, I'm going to go to Gap, I'm going to go to Hollister, all this stuff. And I'm just going to try on stuff. I'm just going to, put on headphones and listen to music and kind of be in my own world and find some things I like, find some things I don't like, and really just make an event out of it. And that I didn't mind, but I think that's because I could sort of do it at my own pace. And when you're a kid and you're being forced to shop with your parents, it almost always takes longer than you would like it to. And when you're shopping with other people, oftentimes one person's there for longer than the other person wants to be. And I really like just shopping at my own pace. If I can go slow, I can go fast. If I just want to decide I got 2 V-necks and that's it, I'm done for the day, I can do that. If I want to make a day of it and hang out at the food court, I could do that. I really just kind of like doing that on my own. It's kind of a personal thing for me. And I almost only do that with clothes because I like actually like trying on clothes and knowing if they fit as opposed to getting them online. But yeah, so that's kind of the Cliff Notes version. It's a long Cliff Notes, but that's sort of the Cliff Notes version of how I feel about shopping. I guess TLDR is I do clothes shopping in person, very little else in person. Yeah, it's relaxing to me now if I can get in the right mindset. I certainly wouldn't list it on the top few things I would do to relieve stress or occupy my time, but it's not nearly as bad as it was when I was a kid.
I have to say, shopping with other people can be really fun if the person you're shopping with shops a very similar way that you do. But if they shop a very different way, like if they take a lot longer or if they're too quick, um, then it's just like a drag. Especially, well, and particularly for the person that shops quicker, it's just a drag because you're like, for me, I kind of know I'm not very super picky with certain things. So when I'm shopping, at least with clothes, but with most things as well, I pick something that works, then I'm good. But when I'm shopping with someone who's like, needs to try on every little thing and needs to like look at every little like packaging to make sure they're getting exactly what they want, it's hell.
It's the montage scene from Pretty Woman, but it's 5 hours long.
And it's not fun, and you're not like, yeah, having a good time, and there's no music playing.
This is a little bit of a tangent. Stick with me. I've been watching House recently, which is one of the great shows. And there's an episode of House where one of the characters gets out of prison. And House, the main character, picks her up and she needs clothes because she was in prison for a year. And so they go shopping for clothes and they have this wonderful back and forth of he's trying on stuff and she's trying on stuff. And there's no attraction between them. They're not interested in each other at all, but they're giving each other wonderful advice of like, girls aren't going to like that. That shows your ass too much or whatever. Or guys aren't going to like that. Whatever. Like they're just giving each other this wonderful, very, crude, like objectifying. This is what someone's going to think when they look at that. And I love that back and forth of just looking at someone with no romantic interest or physical attraction, just being like, this is what someone's going to think when they look at you wearing that. I've always wanted that relationship with a friend of like, let's just go shopping and just tear each other down. Just this is the criticism you need. You know what I mean though? Like just this is the criticism you need to hear about this outfit.
I see what you need. You need a friend who's going to be brutally honest with you, because then they're being honest with you. It may be a little harsh, and if you're for some people, I'm sure like, if they don't have like the sense of humor for it, it could be hard. But not saying that's a criticism of people that don't like that. But anyways, it's definitely nice to hear something that is honest because it's not sugar coated.
Yeah, and specifically with clothes, I've always wanted that relationship with someone where we can go clothes shopping and they'll just give me honest, brutal criticism. Because I'm a creature of habit. I'll pick one style that I really like and get a bunch of colors of that style and just wear that religiously. And so to have someone there that has a different viewpoint, different perspective, and can be like, hey, this works, this doesn't. I've always kind of wanted that friendship, but I've never really had it. So I'll put up a Craigslist ad and we'll see what happens.
I was wondering though, like since we've been talking about shopping, we've been talking in depth about, not super in depth, but mostly about in-store shopping, which I mean, when you're talking about something with like clothes, pretty much necessary, but in regards to online shopping, what are the kinds of things you prefer to buy online, either through Amazon?
Well, I mean, the Amazon's a Goliath. I mean, they're basically a monopoly in retail now. It's almost everything else, honestly. It's pretty much everything else. When I need something that isn't clothes, I probably get it off of Amazon or another website. The one exception, and this is not true all the time, but is if I'm working on some sort of a video project or any sort of thing production related, I try and buy that locally because one, returns are easier, and two, I want to know that I can get it right now and use it. I don't like that lag period, and I don't have Amazon Prime because I'm saving money and all that. So anytime it's Amazon, I have to spend at least $25, and it's not going to get there for a week. And so I have to think about that a little bit, especially when I need something tech related. I have to
Definitely chooses or like maybe not chooses, but is a deciding factor in like the kinds of things you buy, because you know you're paying like shipping and you know it's something big. Like if I want to buy like one little thing from Amazon, shipping can be as much if not more than the thing I'm buying, and then it makes it not worth it. It makes me like think, oh, maybe I should wait till I buy this until I buy another big thing, and then when I do buy that other big thing, I forget to buy the first thing.
It's totally, they have the psychology nailed down, but I'll get something for $15 on Amazon and it's like, okay, I need to spend 10 more bucks for the free shipping. I don't really need this book, but I might as well do it because the free shipping, you know. And that's how they get you.
Something I used to buy on Amazon all the time and like don't anymore is actually comic books. I used to really be into buying like digital versions of comic books. Like I read a lot more comic books a few years ago, and I still read them now and again, but it's not as fluent. And it's because I had like a Kindle. I still have a Kindle, I just didn't use it as much. But I would buy a bunch of comics and read them all on my Kindle, and it was through Amazon, because you know Amazon Kindle, and through Comixology, which I think is a company they buy or they own now. And then I like visited my first comic book shop, and my experience completely changed. Like there's something very, I don't know, there's a virtue in the physical version of a book. First of all, it costs about the same version as the digital version. It costs about the same, about as much as the digital version, which is kind of ridiculous. You think the digital version would cost less, but a physical comic book usually costs the same as its digital equivalent.
Well, and nowadays it's the convenience too. I mean, when you think about games, the digital and physical copies probably cost about the same at launch. And most people opt for the digital because they prefer the convenience. Same thing with comics. You know, Comixology is essentially a subscription. You're getting their library of comics, whatever they deem that is.
The difference between a comic and a video game is, with a video game, the digital version and the physical version, other than the little bit of art you get on the disc, it's basically the same. You're still playing it on a console and you're still looking at a screen. Whereas a book and a screen, there's a difference there. You can read the comic book at any time, whereas when you read the Kindle or whatever, the ebook at night, it's not good for your eyes. There's like something nice about like turning the page rather than adjusting the screen, and like sometimes you zoom in on an image, and it's like they're really like comic books because of they take advantage of that medium so well. The good ones, at least.
There was some dumb like Facebook or Tumblr or something post. I don't remember where it was, but it showed all these different types of books. There was like a nice leather bound book, and then a big hardcover, and then a paperback, and then all this stuff. And it was saying like e-readers and tablets and all that, they aren't sexy. They're just these tiny little flat nothings. Books have like curves and like substance to them, and you can hold it up in your hand, and you can fold it over and hold the pages. There's this tactile feeling behind holding a book that's really nice. I will say that I have a e-reader, and it was some off-brand one I picked up a long time ago when Borders was going out of business, but I don't use that nearly as much as I use a physical book, because there is something there. There is something special about that for sure.
Also, the comic book medium really it melds the visual art of both visual like pictures and the art of like the written word in such a really unique way that no other medium does that way, to the point where like if I'm reading it on a screen, it doesn't translate, you know what I mean? Like some apps will like zoom in on particular panels, but if like the book you're reading doesn't really go based on the panel format, it can mess up and you can see things before you're meant to, or like reveals won't be the same. And like there's something really amazing about like turning a page and the next page is a full like zoom in, like the whole page is one panel of one thing, and it's more intense and effective. So like and also like the big reason why I transitioned to buying physical books, comic books, rather than ebooks, even though the ebook is very convenient because you get it immediately, and with comic books I kind of have to wait and like go to the store to get the complete edition. There's not a lot of comic book stores around me, so I kind of want to support the ones that are around me so they don't disappear. Like the main one I go to is Comics by the Tacoma Mall, and that's still pretty decent drive for me. There was one comic book shop I noticed in Puyallup when I was driving down Meridian a few like weeks ago, maybe it was a few months ago, and I was like, "Oh, cool! It's a comic book that's close to me. I got to check it out sometime." And then I tried looking for it recently, like a few days ago, and I can't find it. So I think it either I crazy and I imagined it, or it like shut down.
You touched on something really interesting there that's a little bit of a pivot, but I feel like it's not too much of a reach. How far away do you think we are from losing those, not just comic book, but physical retail locations? Because I feel like more and more people our age are opting for the Amazon or the digital content or whatever. And there's always going to be those people who like the physical books or like the physical games or whatever. But I feel like for the most part, we're moving away from that. I'm curious, how many people our generation do you think are going to opt for the, brick and mortar experience when Amazon makes it as easy as it is?
I think that the one of the biggest and not only reasons, but one of the biggest reasons that brick and mortar shops are still, around and still the dominant form of buying merchandise is the amount of jobs that would be lost by converting to online stores, because a lot of people are customer service associates and like cashiers, and a lot of those, and those are like pretty not like super well paying, but pretty decently paying, pretty easy jobs that a lot of people would lose. And so like libraries, there's not a lot of librarians, so like libraries I feel like are going away within, I would probably say honestly, the next like 20 to 30, maybe far away as 50 years, like libraries won't be a thing. Whereas like brick and mortar stores like Walmart will still probably be around for a lot longer because there's more jobs to be lost, and unless there was an alternative for all the people working there, like unless there was a new job or a few new job titles created before like online stores like took over completely for these people to like transition to, then we're probably going to still have brick and mortar stores for a lot longer.
Yeah, libraries specifically, I feel like could go either way just because those are government owned. And I feel like that could potentially artificially lengthen their life a little bit more. Because I would imagine if libraries were privately owned or had to operate a little bit more similarly to how retail locations do, they probably wouldn't still be around, just because I don't know that many people who go to the library anymore. And obviously that's anecdotal. But yeah, I think there is something to be said for all the jobs that are in retail. Like you mentioned, I mean, if you look at any given job listings board, probably a significant portion of them are retail jobs. And I don't think retail jobs are necessarily easy. I think that just having friends that have worked in retail and stuff, I think it's a lot harder than it looks.
I would when I said easy, I didn't mean like anyone could do it. I'm saying compared to like jobs that you need like schooling for.
Right. It's an entry level. It's entry level work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus with that, by the way. You hear stories, man. I mean, I feel like it's every week we hear about something happening at the self-serving Amazon shop and wherever. And, you see more and more people having stuff delivered to their houses. Now people are having stuff delivered by drones. We're not there yet, but seeing people our age and from our generation be as lazy as they are. And I'm not, sitting up here throwing stones from my glass house. I definitely prefer the convenience of online shopping and all that. So I'm not pretending to be the exception. But I have a hard time seeing, as Gen Xers and Gen Y, start to get older and pass on and all of that. I just have a hard time seeing brick and mortar stay around. I really do. Especially with, real estate getting more and more expensive and cost of operating and starting a new business getting more and more expensive. And I was a business major. I mean, this is one of the lenses I view the world through. But I just have a hard time seeing it keep going. I really do, especially when it's so much money and time is being put into making shopping from your bedroom easier and easier.
I am going to make a futurist prediction and say that self-driving cars will be a regular thing before shopping, like brick and mortar stores, go out. Like I think we'll have like actual like functioning self-driving cars will be a regular thing before like online shopping is the dominant form of shopping.
I mean, I would argue online shopping is probably already the dominant form of shopping. If you zoom down to specific industry, I think food and that sort of thing obviously is still done in supermarkets.
Instead of dominant form shopping, I should say um, the like regular like self-driving cars will be like a regular thing before all brick and mortar stores are gone.
And I mean, it's just like, I mean, I'm sorry that I use video games as the example for so much, but that's what comes to mind is like,
Nerd.
oh, I know, tell me about it. But like, physical games, I don't think are ever going to go away completely. There's always going to be a subset of people who like the feeling of buying that game and putting it on their shelf and it looks really nice next to all the others. That said, as download speeds get faster and faster and internet becomes more readily available to more people at high speeds, the percentage of people that opt for digital only content is going to be so dominant that there are going to be a very small group of people or a small group of retailers that still offer physical media, and it's not going to make sense for anyone else to enter the space. And I guess that's what I'm speaking about is I think online shopping and commerce is going to get so easy and so enormous of an industry that you're going to have a few people, maybe your Walmarts, maybe your Fred Meyers, maybe your, whatever, that are still going to have their audience and it's going to be more than enough to keep them afloat, but no one else is really going to hop into the thing. I think it's going to become rare for a new shop to open up in your neighborhood.
Speaking to the physical media video game thing, I honestly could see, because since video games are so thoroughly connected to technology, more so than any other entertainment media, I believe, except maybe like movies. Movies are pretty similar with the technological media, but I think video games are so tech focused more so than movies. I think I could see a future relatively soon, in given like how soon, like, because video games only really started in like early 80s, like maybe early mid to mid 70s, and we're already like have video games readily available in downloadable forms. I can see in the pretty near future physical versions of video games going by the wayside, and the few people that don't have access to the internet but still want to play video games could maybe like take like a flash drive or some sort of like storage device to a brick and mortar shop, the few that are left, and we'll get like a buy a game, get a digital download on their physical media, bring it back home with them, and then like download that digital version of that game onto like their console or their computer, whatever. I think that could be the future.
Which theoretically is what a disc is supposed to be. It's supposed to be that the files are on there for install and you pop it in and it works. But nowadays, and we're off in the weeds here, but there's day one patches and downloads for games that are the size of the game itself. And so even if you have the disc and you put it in, you still have to do this massive download. And that's just part of what it is. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be interesting. I think there's something to be said for kind of this hipster movement. And I'm not saying any sort of specific hipster movement, but people more than ever before, it seems, kind of like bringing things back a little bit after their time. And I think we'll probably see that. There's going to be some diehards that say, oh, well, I really like the feeling of going and picking up my groceries, or I like the feeling of going and picking up my books at a library or whatever it may be. I will say there is something, when I was in London, we shopped at this little sort of I guess it was like a convenience store. And every day we would go and get like a bag of groceries, just one like bag of groceries, and take it back to the apartment. There's something I really like about that, of just shopping very, very small amounts, but very often. And I've heard that in Europe that's a lot more common, as opposed to in America. We get a car full of groceries, and then we don't shop again for another week or two. There is something I kind of like about that, about going down to your local store or your local supermarket and just maybe once every day or two getting a couple things and bringing it back there. There's something quaint about that experience that I kind of like.
That's nice, but also like that's a lot of trips to the grocery store, a lot of time and gas. It is nice to only have like one bag of or like one item, one bag of groceries to take with you, rather than having to like park your car and then make multiple trips from your car to your store to your house rather, because you have bought so much stuff because you're stocking up.
I think part of this is just this fantasy on my part of I want to live somewhere downtown within walking distance of my grocery store. and walking distance of my job where I can just go walk and get groceries. I can just walk to work. I can maybe walk to the movies. That's like my ideal life. It's just my whole life's within like a 2-mile radius.
Oh, that would be so great. Living at a place that's walking distance from a grocery store that has everything you need, your job, and like a place for entertainment like a movie theater. That's the dream.
That's what I want, man. Just live right in the middle of downtown because I hate driving. So I don't want a car. I just want to live right in the center of the city and I just walk to everything. And it's good. It stays in shape. And you just go and do stuff. And you're never more than a couple miles from where you want to be. That's my goal. But yeah. Eric, in true Not Yet Adults fashion, I feel like we started in one place and we ended up in a very different place. And I feel like that's okay.
Well, we're still talking about shopping. We're still talking about... We just ended with, like, talk about grocery store shopping.
It's pretty crazy, man. These grocery stores, they're going places. I tell you, there's something there. They're onto something. Well, folks, what do you think about shopping? Is there one type of shopping in particular you really enjoy? Maybe one type you hate? Let us know. Let us know about what your quaint European fantasy is, where you get to shop at the little market every day and get your croissants. I don't know. Is that what European people eat? Croissants?
Believe so. And also, if you are like Colin and you don't like spending money, send it my way and I'll spend it for you.
We'll send it. Yeah, we don't have a Patreon or anything, but we'll figure something out. If you want to send us money, yeah.
You can just send it to me in the mail.
Just send it to Eric Zayas. Just put Not Yet Adults in the address line. We'll find it. It'll get to us. The mail. We have an agreement with the postal service. They'll figure it out. So. Alrighty. Well, folks, this has been episode 31 of the Not Yet Adults podcast. Remember, the podcast comes to you every Monday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and all sorts of podcast services. We're also on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Not Yet Adults, as well as on our own subreddit, r/Not Yet Adults, which you should check out if you have the time. If you have a little bit more time and you want to make us happy, head on over to Apple Podcasts or iTunes if you're on iOS. Leave us a rating and review there. It just takes a couple minutes, and it helps the podcast get listened to by more people, which would be awesome because we put a lot of work into this and we would love to grow our audience just a little bit more. We'll be back on Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time talking about something new, and we are very much looking forward to it. So thanks for listening, and until next time, this has been Not Yet Adults.
Bye-bye.